Iranian leader, Hassan Rouhani. We were talking a little earlier to Arash Aramesh. He's a national security advisor joining us from the West Coast. Arash, technology is a wonderful thing. We've got you back. You're live here on the News Hour. Now, unconditional talks. How does that work?
Unconditional, that term itself has lost its meaning, or maybe it never meant much to President Trump. You can't sit down with unequal adversaries unconditionally. Whether the rest of the world likes it or not, the United States has a very special role in global affairs and in the global order. You can't just sit down with Kim Jong-un of North Korea without preconditions. You can't just invite the Iranians or another rogue regional and small power, for that matter, to the table and grant them legitimacy and grant them the photo opportunity with a U.S. president without any preconditions. Just to give you an example, a few minutes ago, the Washington Post reported that U.S. intelligence agencies are now confirming that North Korea is developing more missiles. That's what you get when you don't do preconditions, and that's what you get when you don't do your homework, and you have very, very little understanding for the basic sort of rules of diplomatic means and norms and for diplomatic engagements.
Lots of corollary issues here to unpack for us, Arish, with this developing story. If you're the State Department, if you're Mr. Pompeo, what are your people, as of now, saying to the Israelis and the Saudis? Because this will be raising eyebrows a lot in Jerusalem and in Riyadh.
Well, the career staff, the career diplomats and also the actual staff at the State Department, they are some of the finest, men and women that this country has. They're there, they do their job in a nonpartisan way. And I'm not talking about political appointees. I'm not talking about the secretary and his assistants and deputies and so on and so forth. But on the one hand, our allies, be it NATO or now in this case, in the case of President Trump's unconditional invitation to the Iranians, our Israelis and the Saudis are baffled and to some extent scared. You cannot go on not being able to count on the work and support and commitments of an American president. When the president says one day that he's committed to NATO and another day he's not. When the president says one day that he's going to wreak havoc on Iran or he's going to bring fire and fury to North Korea, next thing you know, he's calling Kim Jong-un a hero, or he's inviting the Iranian president to unconditional talks. That's very different. Just to give you also another sort of footnote here, moments ago, Mike Pompeo, U.S. Secretary of State, went on Twitter and tweeted, announced that the Iranians have to meet a certain number of conditions for the American side to actually meet with them. So there are certain things that the U.S. is demanding. So put it this way, the reasonable adults, we're talking about Jim Mattis, we're talking about to some extent Pompeo at this point, they're always on cleanup duty after the president in Helsinki, in Singapore, and now at the White House after the president said he would meet with Iran's leader unconditionally. So the big boys are always following the president for cleanup duty, and that's a sad state of affairs.
Okay, very briefly, Arish, what's the Trump administration's go-to destination here? Could it be a nuclear deal? The 6+1 group would say, we had a deal, it was the nuclear deal, it was perfectly okay, and it was nudging in the right direction.
I have no idea. I don't think the administration has any idea. The president is not clear about policy. The president is not clear about his own objectives. The president is not clear about exactly what he wants the Iranian side to do. And again, if the North Korea talks are a good example, the president went there, held hands, came back, made some claims, none of which are true. And we see the exact opposite of those claims to actually be true. So what is the president's objective? What are the administration's objective? And what is the objective of, and what will be optimal for the world? Unfortunately, there are three different things, but it's very, very hard, almost impossible to say what is President Trump thinking or what he wants to get out of this, because his thought process also changes, if not day by day, at least week by week. So it's almost impossible to take an accurate, educated guess.
Arash Aramesh, thanks very much.